set. Amazing. And now I'm going to go ahead and share my screen. Give me 1 second. Apologies, one more second, and here we go. Okay, can folks see my screen? Can I get like a thumbs up? Great, okay, so we should be good to go. Great, so we are going to do a presentation today on using mapping tools to analyze a map for one or more COIs. So today we're going to do just a quick review of file types and census geographies, just to give you folks an understanding and how that relates to the mapping tools. I'll go over about 4 different mapping tools we'll actually be utilizing today. So that'll be Representable, Districtor, District Builder, and DRA. We're going to do 2 demonstrations today. The first one will revolve around using Districtor for the COI and getting that into District Builder itself. And then demo number 2 will involve creating a COI in Representable and putting that into DRA. The good thing for you folks is that I will actually be putting the links that I'll be utilizing in this presentation in the chat. So when I do the first and second demos, I will put links in the chat so you folks can either follow along or just try to see how I'm going about getting from one mapping tool to another. So great, before I go on to that, I want to go over, just review a bit about the census geographies and how it relates to the mapping tools. So the first thing here is, oh, sorry, one second, apologies. Jane, do you see if I'm recording? Apologies.
Yeah, it looks like you're recording.
Okay, sorry, just wanted to be sure. Thank you. Okay, let's just get back into it. Okay, so here's just a great geography, sorry, a great, how do I say, a graphic that you can get from ArcGIS, and just shows here an example of the entire United States. And then you sort of break it down further and further from the state itself, then you get into a tract, then you get into the block groups in the tract, and then you get the blocks in the block group, and then the block itself. Mostly you'll always be encountering either the block group or the block in the mapping tools. So things like Representable, District Builder, and other applications will revolve around using block groups or other means to try to create either a map or your own community of interest. And just talk a little bit about it. I won't go too deep into it, but basically the blocks sort of are bounded by both visible and non-visible features. So the visibles include streets, roads, streams, and railroad tracks. The more non-visibles can include property lines, city, school districts, and county limits. Generally, census blocks are small in area. So example, if you live in a city, usually a census block will just be one literal city block, but you may have different ones depending on if you're in a more suburban or rural area. So just as I was saying, you'll have really suburban and rural areas that may have much larger blocks themselves, and especially in remote areas, they may actually be hundreds of square miles itself. Census blocks cover the entire territory of the United States, and they basically are nested in tabulated census geography entities. They're the basis of all tabulated data. So we have that for blocks. And then for block groups, they're defined and contain between 600 and 3,000 people. So as you notice, when you either try to make a community of interest or building on a map, you'll notice when you're building out the block groups, they will be of different population sizes. And the blocks and the block groups all have different 4-digit census block numbers. So we have an example here of 3001, 3002, all the way to 3,999. And then as well, it covers a contiguous area and other things like that. As well, just wanted to quickly note, all of the mapping tools are on 2020 geographies. So do not worry when you're creating your either COIs or maps. They will be in 2020 geographies. They will not be in 2010. I do have a link in this presentation that just shows like a nice sort of comparison of a county in Florida, where you can see sort of the divisions from 2010 and then how it's changed in 2020. And so I thought that'd be nice for you folks if you want to take a look at that after. Next, just want to quickly go over some file types and how it relates to the mapping tools. So I'll first go over GeoJSON. So GeoJSON is the format for coding geographic data structures and non-spatial attributes. You'll encounter GeoJSONs in this presentation, as I'll show in things like Representable and District Builder. They usually are the files that you'll be uploading onto different softwares. This format sits in a bigger language classification called JSON, which is called the JavaScript Object Notation, and it's a text-only format derived from the structure of JavaScript. It does say a note here that when you encounter GeoJSON files, they will either have the extension of GeoJSON or JSON. However, again, in the purposes of this presentation, we'll always have it as GeoJSON. Next, we have assignment files. So usually the assignment files are Excel spreadsheets, and they'll contain pieces of information such as GeoIDs. They'll contain maybe things like latitude and longitude, and usually those will be relevant when you're uploading to different mapping tools. In one of our demonstrations, we will show how to upload a block assignment file into District Builder, and the block assignment file itself will be a proposed plan. So we'll show that in a moment. Next, we have shapefiles. So these are a set of files that contain geospatial information. So this could be the shape, the attributes, and location of geographic features. They're often contained in zip files. So usually when you're downloading any of the different files, you will usually have them in zip files. So if you download like the block assignment file, or if you download sort of the GeoJSON file, you'll have them in zip files. Usually I just take them out of the zip files, but I would recommend keeping the shape files in the zip files because they'll contain other files as well. So when you upload a shape file into a software, you include it as the entire zip file. There are several variations of shape files. However, it's not uncommon for the zip file folder to contain other file types when you're doing it. One moment. Okay, great. So now I want to show you folks the different mapping tools. So the four mapping tools, again, we'll be talking about today, will actually all be included in the demonstrations, but I just want to talk a little bit about each of their features. The first one is Representable. So for this application, you can only draw COIs on it, but it does a really great job in sort of giving you a lot of information as to how you want to build out your COI and more sort of like why you're building out your COI. So ask a couple of questions sort of on the breakdown of, you know, the location of your neighborhood, like different things like that for you to have a good sense of how you're building that out. You can export the file, the COIs as a GeoJSON or block group assignment file, and I'll show you folks how to do that soon. And here's just a screenshot of a sample. So here's the Bronx, New York City. So when you are able to make it, you'll see that you're able to click on different things. Oops, let's go back here. Here you see highlighted just like an example COI that I created here of this area. As you'll notice, you'll see on the bottom left, it says use smaller units. So right now we are in census block groups. But if you were to click use smaller units, it'll ask you if you want to go to just using blocks. And you just have to be careful just to make sure that you haven't made something already, because it will erase all of the work you've done before if you make it into smaller units. So just keep that in mind. But once you finish this and you create your COI, then you're able to actually download it. And I'll show you folks what that looks like in our second demo. Districtr, you must import maps from Districtr as block group assignment files or a GeoJSON. So again, I'll show this in the first demo. And many enacted plans are in block assignment files, but more importantly, there are no way to overlap the maps in District at the moment. District Builder, you can import the maps as a reference layer or a new project. So reference layers must be a block assignment file, CSV with latitude and latitude or GeoJSON, and the new project must be a block group or precinct assignment file, CSV or GeoJSON. So just to try to, I know probably maybe it sounds a little confusing. So what I'm basically saying here is that there are two ways you can actually import things into District Builder. So the second point here says a new project. This is actually where we're going to import our block assignment file of a proposed plan as a new project, where the reference layer will be the COI that we import as a layer itself. And actually just already says it here, we recommend importing either a GeoJSON from DRA or Representable as a reference layer for the COI, and then the block group or precinct assignment file CSV or GeoJSON for the enacted plan as a new project. You can toggle the reference layer on and see visually whether a COI is split or not, but sadly you're not able to see any kind of metrics that go along with the COI. So great, I'm going to show you folks our first demonstration. So what I'm actually going to do right now is I'm going to copy and paste just a couple of links here. So the first link is just the Districtor website. The second link is the block assignment file for the map we're going to use. Excuse me. The third link is basically the District Builder application, and the fourth link is the actually finished product. So let me show you folks the finished product first. I don't believe you need to have a District Builder account to access it, but you should be able to see something like this in District Builder. And you'll notice here that this is the House of Representatives map. And you'll see here something on the bottom left called reference layers. If we toggle that, we should see our COI, which is actually here. So this is actually what we want to have a finished product. So I'm going to take you step by step on how to actually do that. So we'll exit out of this, but again, you folks have that in the chat access. What we're going to do first is get the COI. So we're going to get the COI from Districtor. So we're going to go ahead and go to districtor.org. And so what's going to be, what you're going to do next is you're going to scroll down and you're going to choose, you can choose any state you'd like to work on. For the purposes of this presentation, we're going to use Florida. And then Florida, you can either draw districts or draw communities. So what we're going to do is draw communities, and then I just sort of do a statewide, but you can also do it by county and by cities, but we're just going to do it statewide. So now we have it listed out here, Districtor. So we're going to try to make a COI. We're going to try to make the one we have in the finished product. So again, the COIs that I create in this presentation are just sample COIs. They're not ones that we're using as real examples. So the top right, you'll see that there's a couple options you can erase. You can sort of brush to pick the block groups that are listed here. As you notice, there's a brush size. So if you increase the brush size, you're going to see a bunch. So again, we're just going to put it at 1, and then we're going to go ahead and just build this out pretty quickly. Go ahead. I think we're going to do sort of this county here, and then we're going to just expand a little bit out here. And then we'll consider this our COI. So we'll do that, and we'll highlight this, and this will be what it is. And then what you do next is on the top right, we have like the sandwich here. If you click on the sandwich, it'll come up with a bunch of different options. So you can actually export the COI plan as a shapefile, GeoJSON, as an assignment CSV file in blocks, or just the specific units that are listed. We're going to go ahead and export the COI plan as a GeoJSON. We're going to go ahead, it's going to start downloading, and then we have it listed here in the zip file. So great. We have the first one out of the way. We have the COI finished and downloaded as a GeoJSON. Next, we want the like a state map, either proposed or enacted. So we're going to go to Redistrict 2020. So that's the second link that I provided. So let me actually just go one step back. Let's just go to redistrict2020.org. I did this on Tuesday, but it has a lot of links to different plans. So here, for example, state legislative plans, we have like the Florida State House, Florida State Senate, Virginia, other states. There are other places you can get access to enacted or proposed plans. So things like DRA, RDH will also give you access to that. But again, for the purpose of the presentation, we'll go ahead and use the Florida State House. That's right here. And as you notice, there's some links here. So you'll have a view of it from Dave's Redistricting app. You can have a view of it in District Builder. You also have the Plan Score Predictive Model and all about redistricting links. So there's several links that would link to this. But what we're looking for is the block assignment file that's at the bottom here. So if we click that, now we have downloaded the block assignment file for this plan. So great, now we have two of the components, and now the last thing we need to do is put both of these components into District Builder. So just make sure for District Builder that you have an account set up, and the account is free to make. So now what we're going to do first is, if you create an account and you logged in, you should be able to see a screen like this where it says my maps, community maps, and resources. And there's two buttons at the top right here, which is import and new map. What you'll do is click import, and then it'll say upload file. So it says here, select a block equivalency file CSV from District Builder or a different redistricting source. So what we're going to do is open up the zip file. So let me go ahead and take that out. I'm going to extract it. I'm not sure if you're able to see what I'm doing with the zip file. But I'm taking it out of the zip file and putting it into my desktop. So let me see if I could find it. Open it. So when I put the Florida State House plan on here, it should read everything correctly. It shouldn't show any issues. So here it says upload success, which is perfect. Sometimes if you upload a block equivalency file, it may say that it read it, but there's like some errors or things like that. Here we got the best possible option of it being uploaded success, which should be a similar thing you'll come across for all of the plans itself. So we'll then, because we're doing the House Representatives, we'll just click House Representatives, and then we should be able to create the map.
Jose, can you just say for the multi-member districts, that just means that it doesn't define, it doesn't rely on the blocks based on that type of representation. It can span all districts. Is that what that means, or can you explain that better?
Oh, for like the cost, where it says like the custom districts. Let me see if I can.
It just said multi. You could click. You could select one. You know, the types of. You could select the type of representatives, or it said multi-member districts.
I think I know what you mean. Let me see if I can pull that out again.
Thank you.
Yeah, no worries. Import, it's just this right here where it says use multi-member districts.
Yes.
So when I clicked on this, what it usually did for me is multi-member districts. Let's see here. So when I was downloading this information, it usually showed it as being able to expand it out to many different districts. I could also see this as like when I see multi-member districts, where there is like more than one representative in the district. I forget which states have those, but I think that's sort of what it means. But so far, I haven't really needed to sort of utilize it, at least for Florida and Arizona that I'll be showing in this presentation. But it gives you sort of the option, I think, just so that you can like expand this out, for example. So you can put like the number of reps. So here you could put like 2 reps for District 1 or like 3 reps for District 2, and then things like that. Does that make sense?
Yes-ish, I think so.
Yeah, sorry, I wish I could give more information on it, because I know there's some districts that will have more than one representative in the district. So I think that's sort of what it means here, using multi-member districts, so you can number the amount of representatives in each of the districts that are outlined. So that's
Gotcha.
So
Thank you.
yeah, no problem. But for this, at least this portion, we won't be using the multi-member one. We'll have it usually for whatever the enacted plan is. So we'll have that for the House of Representatives here. So hopefully that made sense, and apologies if I didn't give more info. We'll try to provide more info after the presentation as well on that. So great, we have this successfully loaded in. We have the House of Representative maps here. And as I was saying before, there are 2 ways to upload onto District Builder. We just did the first one where we did the block assignment file. Now we're going to put in the GeoJSON file. So if you notice at the bottom left here, there is something called reference layers. If you click the plus sign, click it one more time, there we go. It will say add polygon or point layer as a reference layer for your map. So if you click upload layer, you can drop and drag as either a CSV or GeoJSON file. So let me actually go ahead and take the GeoJSON file out. And okay, so browse the file. And this should be the correct one. So if you put in the GeoJSON, it hopefully should come up with a sort of a next screen with it. So it says here we uploaded successful with 28 polygons. So now we just need to give it a name. So I usually just give like COI test the name, select label property, a bunch of labels here, but there's actually one for districtor. So we'll just do that, add to the map. And then at the bottom, you should see COI test. So it means that it has successfully uploaded, but it doesn't like automatically toggle itself in. So you just need to manually toggle it with the checkbox, and then you'll see that right here. So you'll notice for at least the House of Representatives, let's say just this example, if we were trying to analyze the COI, in terms of splitting, it does split into 2 different districts. If for some reason we expand it out to here, right, we potentially could have it in 5 different districts. So it's good to sort of see that, at least for this example, it only goes into 2 different districts when we're trying to make that kind of consideration. So hopefully folks should be able to now put GeoJSON files, put GeoJSON files and block equivalency files into District Builder. Before I go on, and thank you so much, I think it was Darlene who asked a question. Thank you. Does anyone else have any questions on that demo? you can feel free to unmute yourself. And if not, again, we'll also have time for questions towards the end of the presentation as well. Again, the links are in the chat, so you can view sort of the finished product as well as the other links to access the other files as well. So let me go back here, and we're going to talk about Dave's Redistricting App next. All right. So with Dave's Redistricting App, you can import the enacted plan using really any method. So you can use the block or precinct assignment file CSVs. You could do GeoJSONs or shape files as well. We recommend using a COI from Representable or mapping in DRA directly, so you can do either or. When COI maps are imported from Representable, however, it must be a GeoJSON or block group, not block assignment file. When the COIs are imported from District Builder, the COI appears as one district and the rest of the state as another district. So just keep that in mind if you're making a COI map in District Builder. If you try to put into DRA, it will actually register it as two different districts. So just keep in mind when you're doing that. And then to open a district plan and then bottom left, add a custom overlay. I'll show you folks how to add those in because you can actually add in more than one. Where District Builder, I could only show you one COI. In DRA, you can do more than one of that. So for the next demo, I'm actually going to show you folks how to use the Representable COI and put that into DRA. So now I'm going to post the second set of links here. So the first one is actually the Representable example COI that I created. Second link will be the Arizona plan. And then the other two links will be the Dave's Redistricting App. But what I want to show you folks first is just the end product. Again, this is just a sample. All righty. So this hopefully should be our end product when we finish the demonstration. As you notice, there is a green block here, which is actually our COI. And then we have the Arizona, I believe the US House plan here as well for congressional districts. So this is what our end result should hopefully be. And we're going to go ahead to get to this. We're going to start at Representable. Now, because Representable does take a little bit of time in terms of setting up a COI and trying to build it out, really trying to explain it, I will show you the end result of the COI itself, because it may take too long to actually try to create the COI in the application. But I wanted to show you when you finish a COI, this is what will come up for you. So for example, you'll have the COI here in Arizona as an example, and you'll notice that you can actually download the map as a GeoJSON, as a PDF, and as a CSV. Something I didn't note before, you can actually look at different layers to see how it does any kind of splitting, as well as election data and demographics. So for example, if you wanted to look at how state Senate districts react in terms of your COI, you'll notice here that actually crosses into 3 different state Senate districts. Or if you're looking at precinct boundaries, how that works as well. So it does it's really nice, and it's a pretty new feature that they put in recently to see how you're able to work with it. The only issue here is it's not really, you can't really edit anything like you can in DRA. So you'll have to just keep that in mind when doing it, but it's a really great feature if you're trying to look at how it is reacting to other kinds of boundaries and things like that. So that's sort of the data layers here. So what we want to do is we want to download this as either a JSON or CSV. So we can either click one of those two, and we'll do, again, just for this example, GeoJSON, but I'll also just click the CSV just in case. So we have now the COI from Representable, and now we want to get the state map, and we're going to use Redistrict 2020 again. And this time, instead of the House Representatives, we're doing the US congressional districts. And similar to the Florida page, what's really nice in addition here, you get to sort of see the outlines, but also you'll have access to the different views from different sites. So again, you'll have opportunities to see in different types of softwares. But again, what we want to do is look for the block assignment file, and we want to download that here. And then we have successfully downloaded that. And now we have our second component. And now we want to go to our final component, which is getting into DRA. So we're going to go ahead and go into Dave's Redistricting App. Similar to District Builder, you do need to make an account. So just be sure that you have an account and you're able to access it. So then you can be able to import things onto here. So you're going to notice you're in this page now. What you'll probably do is go to Maps on the top right here. And what you will do is on the top right, you'll see the import button. So when you click import, you'll see that you can actually import in a variety of different files. So for the purposes of this one, we're going to import the block equivalency file, block assignment file for the Arizona plan. And just like I stated before, make sure it does download as a zip file. So I usually just take it out and either put into a folder or just put into a desktop so you can be able to upload it. And we should have it. Yep. So we have that now on here. We click import. And it says import pending. It says your import was successfully queued and your map will appear in my maps list within a few minutes. So it usually takes about a minute or so to import the map, but it will sort of pop up with another thing and says that it's been successfully imported onto it. I'm going to go ahead and actually also take out the GeoJSON file to make sure I have that ready to go when I'm putting that in as well. And also try to see if I can put in the CSV of that. And just a note as well, what's nice with Representable is when you download something like a CSV, it actually will include a testimony portion, sort of like a CSV file where it'll include information that you include of why you're making your COI map. So it does a really great job of importing that information as well for you. Great. So now we have successfully imported the map. So you'll notice that this is the most recent version. You want to double click that. We'll just give it a second to load in. And great, so now we have the map loaded in. And now the final step is we want to import the COI and have that as an overlay. So what I usually do is on the bottom left, similar to District Builder, there's like an option to import something. This is called custom overlays. What you'll do is click the gear option, and then you're going to go ahead to add layers. And then you're going to click import new. And then you're going to choose the file. So it says specify a GeoJSON file or shape file in a zip archive format that defines the shapes to render the overlay on the map. So we're going to do a GeoJSON here. And actually, 1 second. Let me see if I did this correctly. Name. Let's export that out again. Okay, we'll rename that to Arizona test. Okay, we have Arizona test file here. And then we want to import the layer. And here we go. It should be here now. And then we can pick, apply, and then it should successfully be at the bottom left. So similar again to District Builder, it will not initially sort of pop up the way you would see it. As you notice, it is here, but it doesn't look sort of very visible. So what you'll do is you'll click this bucket icon and you sort of give you visual properties for it. What I usually do is there's like an opacity feature for the fill. I put that all the way to 1, so you can have a very clear outline of the COI. And then we'll just do like a bright color like green. And so this is the COI that we have from Representable, and then we successfully imported that into DRA. And again, for DRA, you can put more than one COI. So if you wanted to put more overlays onto this map, you can definitely do so. And it gives you a wider array of advantages to try to analyze what's happening here. At least just in this example, as you notice, we're just doing congressional districts, and our COI does not cross into any of the other congressional districts currently. So that's something we can at least analyze in terms of that splitting. But that is, I think, the final step of that. And we have successfully put the representable from one application to another. And that'll be pretty much it. Let me go ahead and stop sharing my screen. Let me see if there's any questions on the chat. And let me go ahead. Also feel free to unmute yourselves. So Laura says, what are the pros and cons of each mapping site? Are there certain situations where one is better than another, or is it more of a personal preference as to which to use? That is a great question, Laura. Thank you so much for asking that. And actually just wanted to shout out Jane, who is here with us today. I don't think this presentation would be possible without her help on this. So definitely wanted to shout her out for this. So to answer your question, Laura, there are some pros and cons to each of the mapping sites. It's really dependent because sometimes when you're trying to upload from one mapping tool to another, it can be a little wonky because they're not all the same in terms of their, I guess, softwares. So for example, the ones that I showed today, like District and Representable to District Builder and DRA, those sort of work pretty well. Like when you do something like District Builder, if you're trying to make a COI and putting that into DRA, it's not really going to work the way you want it to, because what will happen is for District Builder, when you import it, it'll always be seen as 2 districts. And so it'll show the COI, but then it'll show the entire state map as a separate district. So that's sort of where you'll come into those kind of things that pop up. We actually will be launching an article around next week that'll go into more details about each of the mapping tools and like how each mapping tools will interact with each other. So definitely keep a lookout for that, and I'll definitely let you folks know when that comes out. Was that helpful for you, Laura?
Yeah, that's helpful, and I'll be excited to read that article next week to see if there's any more details on that. If it's just, I guess, so some work better together, but then for the sets that work well together, I guess that would be a follow-up. Is there a difference between, you know, if you extract data from this one, you want to import it into that one, and there's another pair like that? Are there like pros and cons of those kind of pairs of?
Yeah, yeah, it's really dependent. Yeah, when we get to that point, it can get a little complicated. I will say definitely wait for the article to come out, because I think it does a really good job in basically just giving you all of the different combinations and how each mapping tool works with each other. I don't want to say anything here now listing everything of what the different ones and how they interact, but at least the ones for this presentation, at least in terms of Representable and District or to District Builder or DRA, they work pretty well in sort of showing that. And I wanted to make sure I showed the best examples, so there wasn't any kind of issues that could pop up when you're trying to upload certain files. Everything.
Okay, thank you.
Great, thank you, Laura. Darlene, thank you for question, Laura. Further, can you expand upon GeoJSON or shapefile pros, cons, differences to know? Thank you. So in terms of the shapefiles versus the GeoJSON, it's really more of how the mapping tools themselves respond to it and which mapping tools can sort of actually download the file. So as you notice, like for Representable, you can download as a GeoJSON or as a CSV, but you can't download as a shapefile. In Districtor, you can download it as a shapefile. And then there are other tools where, for example, I believe District Builder, you can do GeoJSON, CSV, but you can't do shapefiles for the reference layers. So again, it's sort of more of like which one sort of compel with the other one. So I think in terms of just the pros and cons and differences, it's more of like making sure you see which one works well. Again, for the purpose of the presentation, GeoJSON sort of had more opportunities to be uploaded and downloaded than shapefiles in here. As well as shapefiles, I do like shapefiles as well. I know we're going to do a presentation on QGIS on Monday. So heavily using shapefiles for QGIS was another option you could use as well. And did a great job because, again, you don't have to take anything out of the zip file and you could sort of keep everything in there as well. A lot of the different tools that you use to download as either GeoJSON or a shapefile, you can put into QGIS pretty effectively. So that worked pretty well for me. Was that helpful, Darlene?
Yeah, thank you.
No problem. She's asked, any chance getting a recording of the first COI training? Oh yes, I just had mentioned to Sid earlier that I will actually be doing a recording of this for the Tuesday training and letting you folks get that either tomorrow or latest Monday. But I should have something for you folks tomorrow for the presentation on Tuesday. So I'll provide that training to you folks as soon as I can. And the article, I believe, will be published next week, but we could have it earlier this week. But again, I'll definitely let you folks know and send you an email when I get more information on that. Ray, any further questions? I know we went over time. I know it's 1:52, so you folks have to head out. Definitely feel free to do so. Let me know if there's any other questions. Alrighty, if there's no other questions, again, feel free, if you have any questions that come up after the presentation, please definitely reach out to us at info@redistrictingdatahub.org. So I'm just going to put that in the chat right now. Redistricting, hopefully I spelled redistricting correctly. Oops, I forgot the hub part, so apologies. So redistrictingdatahub.org, here's the correct one. So feel free to send us any questions if anything comes up either from the presentation or anything. Be happy to help. We usually take around 24 hours to get back to you. Also, before we head out, I wanted to just put the final training of 2021 here. So let me give you folks the link to that if you don't have it already. It's it'll be on QGIS and it'll actually be presented by the creator of the QGIS plugin, John Holden. So it'll be a great presentation, sort of giving more information on the COIs and everything. So let me just give me 1 second to bring that up and post the link onto here. So that presentation will be using QGIS and Python to analyze one or more communities of interest with respect to the proposed maps. So I'm going to go ahead and copy the invitation. Feel free to sign up here. We'd definitely like to see you on Monday. And if not, oh, I was just about to say on Avi's question, will Mondays also be recorded and shared? I may not be able to make it. Again, no worries. If you aren't able to make Monday's presentation, we will be recording it and we'll be sending it out to folks. Also, you can check out the Redistricting Data Hub on YouTube. or our website, because we do post it there. So definitely check that out. But let me stop recording if I am still.